Welcome back, everyone. Grab your popcorn, because today's story is packed with shocking twists, emotional moments, and secrets that change everything. Let's jump right in. Well, I've been turning this over in my mind ever since the news broke, and I tell you what, it looks like Willow Kane might be headed for a fresh heap of trouble she never saw coming. The folks at General Hospital have decided it's time to grow Scout up, and they've brought in Kaden Brenna Tokarski to play her starting this July. That means Willow stepping straight into the shoes of a stepmother to a teenage girl. And if you ask me, that change could stir up more than a little dust around the Kane household. Back when little Scout was played by Cosette Abinante, Willow and the girl seemed to share a gentle, easy kind of bond. It was sweet to watch the way they got along. But now we're looking at an older, sharper version of that same child, and there's no promise the good feelings will last. A teenager who's lived through everything Scout has seen in her family might come walking in with her eyes open and her guard up. She could turn out to be the kind of young lady who doesn't miss a trick and isn't afraid to speak her mind when something doesn't sit right with her. That's what's got me thinking the most. Willow's been putting on such a devoted front lately, playing the loving wife who's right there caring for her husband after his stroke. She's poured herself into that role, and from the outside, it looks steady enough. But a smart, bold teenager like this new Scout might start noticing the little cracks. She might begin to wonder why things feel off, or why her stepmother seems to be working so hard to keep up appearances. Once a girl that age starts asking questions or piecing things together on her own, it can turn a quiet house into a place full of tension nobody planned for. I keep wondering how Willow will manage when that day comes. She's already carried so much on her shoulders over the years, and now here's another layer she didn't expect. These stories on the show have a way of reminding us how families really work in real life too. People grow up, relationships shift, and sometimes the ones we think we understand best end up surprising us the most. It'll be interesting to see whether Willow and Scout can hold on to that earlier warmth, or whether this new chapter brings a whole different kind of storm. Either way, it feels like we're about to watch something that hits close to the heart. I keep turning this over in my head, and it strikes me that this older version of Scout could end up being the one who finally notices what Willow has been trying so hard to hide. At the very least, the girl might pick up on the simple truth that Willow no longer loves Drew and doesn't even want to stay married to him. That's a heavy realization for any young person to carry, but once it lands, it could change everything about how Scout sees the woman who's supposed to be her stepmother. Willow already opened up to Harrison Chase about how trapped she feels, and we all know how easy it is for a curious teenager to catch pieces of a conversation she was never meant to hear. If Scout starts putting the pieces together, she might begin to wonder why her stepmother is working so hard to keep up the loving wife act. And if she gets suspicious about those regular injections Willow keeps giving Drew, well, that could be the spark that makes her speak out. A bold teenager who's lived through as much as Scout has might just decide she can't stay quiet if she thinks her father is in real trouble. It's even possible Drew could find a quiet way to send her a signal. Nothing more than a quick wink when nobody else is paying attention. That small gesture might be enough to let Scout know he needs help and that things aren't what they seem. Of course, there's still the chance this older Scout won't appear until after Drew's so-called stroke recovery is already moving along. Either way, it feels like the truth is sitting there waiting, and a sharp young girl might be the one who finally brings it out into the light. What gets me most is how these secrets always seem to have a way of coming undone when a child is involved. Willow's been carrying so much, trying to hold everything together with both hands, but the harder she pushes to keep control, the more likely it becomes that someone close to her will start asking the questions she's been avoiding. I can't help but feel for her even while I'm wondering what comes next. These stories remind me that no matter how carefully we try to protect the people we love, the heart has its own plans, and sometimes it takes a fresh pair of eyes to see what the rest of us have been missing. You know, the more I sit with this story, the more I can picture Willow finally getting a little breathing room and finding the advantage she's been needing to help Drew pull himself out of the tight spot he's in. If she manages to do that, it could send Scout rushing home early from that summer camp Willow had suggested. I keep imagining the girl packing her bags in a hurry, heart pounding, because something deep inside her just won't let her stay away. Even if she does come back sooner than anyone planned, I have this strong feeling she'll step through the door with her eyes already searching for the cracks in the picture Willow's been painting so carefully. What really tugs at me is how Scout might start to feel that something is off the moment she walks back into the house. Teenagers have a way of picking up on the smallest changes in the air, the way voices sound just a little too cheerful, or the way certain topics get avoided at the dinner table. Before long, she could put the pieces together and realize that Willow isn't just trying to keep the peace. She might see that her stepmother is actually holding something heavy over Drew's head, using it to keep him quiet about trouble that Willow herself helped stir up in the first place. That kind of secret has a way of sitting heavy on everyone's shoulders, and a girl as sharp as Scout could decide she's not willing to look the other way anymore. It all comes down to how smart and strong the writers at General Hospital decide to make this older Scout. But if you ask me, she needs to carry every bit of that fire and backbone because she's Sam McCall's daughter through and through. Kelly Monaco brought such grit and heart to Sam, the kind of strength that made you believe she could face down just about anything. It would only feel right if Scout inherited some of that same quiet power, the kind that lets her stand tall even when the grown-ups around her are trying to keep her in the dark. I can almost see her standing there, chin lifted, ready to ask the questions that could change everything for the people she loves. No matter how the story unfolds, this teenage Scout has every chance of turning into Willow's worst nightmare. That girl's anger could come pouring out in ways that catch Willow completely off guard, whether it's through quiet, steady questions that chip away at the lies, or through one big moment that blows the whole thing wide open. Once a secret like this starts to crack, it can be hard to stop the flood that follows. I keep thinking about how Willow has been trying so hard to hold every thread in her hands. But the harder she pulls to keep control, the more likely it becomes that someone close to her will finally see the whole picture. What gets me most is how these kinds of family storms always seem to hit hardest when they come from the youngest eyes in the room. Scout may still be a teenager, but she's already lived through more than most folks twice her age. If she decides she's had enough of the pretending and the half-truths, she could shake up the entire Kane household in ways nobody saw coming. I can't help but feel a little sorry for Willow, even while I'm sitting here wondering what comes next. She's been carrying so much on her own, and now it looks like the very person she thought she could manage might end up being the one who turns everything upside down. These stories on General Hospital have a way of reminding me how real life works too. We try so hard to protect the people we love, sometimes by keeping secrets we think will keep them safe. But kids grow up, they start to see the world with clearer eyes, and suddenly the things we tried to hide are right there in front of them. It can be painful and messy, but it can also be the moment when real healing finally has a chance to begin. I keep hoping that whatever happens between Willow and Scout, it leads to something honest, even if it hurts at first. In the end, I'll be right here, waiting with my heart in my throat to see what happens next with this girl and how it all lands for Willow. The more these secrets start to unravel, the more it feels like we're watching something that could change the shape of their family forever. These kinds of twists are what keep us all coming back week after week, guessing and hoping and holding our breath right along with the characters we've come to care about. I don't know exactly how Scout's anger will show itself or how Willow will handle the storm that's brewing, but I do know I wouldn't miss it for the world.